How many of you, before you sat down here to be a part of the audience, did take a look to your left and check out the 7 principles laid out there? How many of you? If you could just raise your hands. Very few indeed, because I saw you being there. যারা এখন অবধি ওখানে যাননি, যদি বাঁদিকে আপনাদের বাঁদিকে যেখানে ওই 7টা প্রিন্সিপল লেখা রয়েছে আপনারা দেখেন, you'd come to know how to recognize a king. সাধারণত আমরা কোনো কিং বা রাজার সামনে মাথা ঝুঁকিয়ে তাকে সম্মান জানাই এবং রাজা তার মাথা উঁচু করে থাকেন। But how exactly would you recognize a king? A king because of his class or because of the mass that follows him? Ideally should be a combination of the both. কিন্তু আজকে আমরা এমন একজন কিং এর কথা বলতে চলেছি যার কাছে যার ক্ষেত্রে আমরা দুটো কম্বিনেশন যেরকম পেয়েছি, but mostly so because of the mass that follows him, or rather the mass that's admiring him over the years. Exactly কিভাবে? তার জন্য একটু আগে I was going through the 3rd law of Newton. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. এবং 3rd law বা 3rd principle of রাজধর্ম যেটা Dr. Professor R.P. Banerjee লিখেছেন তার বইয়ে, I'll just quote. Prathamam lokarthanam rajan. The king shall give priority to the people always in his or her concern for the masses. So the king is for the masses. এবং যে কারণে ওই রাজা সবারে দেন মান, সে মান আপনি ফিরে পান. What you give, you receive. And he has been receiving admiration over the years. এবং আজকে আমরা তাকে সম্মান জানাবো একটা বিশেষ মুহূর্তের মাধ্যমে. We'll go through a process যেখানে শেষ পর্যন্ত the culmination as the clock's ticking, একটা অসাধারণ জার্নির একটা বড়সড় একটা কি বলবো, একটা ওয়েবসাইট তো নিঃসন্দেহে, কিন্তু তার মধ্যে কি কি রয়েছে তা কিছুক্ষণ আলোচনা করলে আপনারা হয়তো বুঝতে পারবেন। কিন্তু বিফোর দ্যাট আপনারা, আমার তরফ থেকে রিকোয়েস্ট, আপনাদের সেলফোনস নিশ্চয়ই আপনারা সাইলেন্ট মোডে রেখেছেন, বিকজ দ্যাটস দ্য কাস্টম। কিন্তু অনেকেই কাজের ক্ষেত্রে অনেক সময় সেলফোনটাকে ফ্লাইট মোডেও রাখেন, অ্যান্ড আ ফ্লাইট মোড ডাজ মিন ইউ আর নট সাপোজ টু বি ডিস্টার্বড। কিন্তু এই ভদ্রলোক প্রফেসর 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗪 ব্যানার্জি যখন ফ্লাইট মোডে থাকেন, ওয়েন ইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি ফ্লাইং, তখন দেখা যায় তিনি প্রচণ্ড অ্যাক্টিভ মোডে থাকেন। তার একজন সহকর্মী দীর্ঘদিনে তার কাছ থেকে আমি জানতে পেরেছি, একটা 20 ঘন্টার ফ্লাইটে যখন তিনি নেমেছেন ততক্ষণে তার প্রায় 40 পাতা লেখা হয়ে গেছে। ইন দি এজ ওয়েন উই আর টাইপিং অলওয়েজ, প্রফেসর 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗪 ব্যানার্জি আজও লিখতে পছন্দ করেন তার নিজের হাতে, এবং ততক্ষণে তার বইয়ের ওই 20 ঘন্টার জার্নিতে যখন তার বন্ধুরা বা কলিগরা হয়তো ঘুমোচ্ছেন, গেমস খেলছেন এটসেট্রা, ইজ স্টিল ওয়ার্কিং এবং সারাক্ষণ কাজ করতে থাকেন, বিকজ হি বিলিভস ইন অফারিং অর গিভিং, সো দ্যাট হি নোজ অবভিয়াসলি ওভার দ্য ইয়ার্স যে অ্যাডমায়ারেশন তিনি পেয়েছেন সেটা তিনি পাবেন। এবং আজকে তাকে আমরা যখন সম্মান জানাবো এই ওয়েবসাইট লঞ্চের মাধ্যমে, সেই ওয়েবসাইটে যা রয়েছে আসলে তিনি এত বছর ধরে যে কাজ করেছেন তার একটা ছোট্ট অংশ, যেটা ক্রমশ বড় হবে আমরা জানি। একটা হাতকে মুঠো করলে 5টা আঙুল যখন একসঙ্গে আমরা মুঠো করি, ইট গিভস ইউ পাওয়ার, ইট গিভস ইউ দ্য পাওয়ার অফ এ লিডার, অ্যান্ড অবভিয়াসলি এই 5টা আঙুল যখন একসঙ্গে আসছে, প্রফেসর 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗪 ব্যানার্জির 5টা পিলার, যেটা আমি তার সঙ্গে যারা দীর্ঘদিন কাজ করেছি তাদের সঙ্গে কথা বলতে বলতে বুঝতে পারছিলাম, there are 5 such pillars which they know, যার মাধ্যমে স্যারকে আমরা অনায়াসে চিনতে পারবো। শিক্ষা বিকাশ ইজ ওয়ান অফ দেম, যারা নিজ স্যার দীর্ঘদিন ধরে কাজ করছেন, redefining the educational system in India. He is the chairman and director of Eastern Institute for Integrated Learning in Management, or EIILM-Kolkata. So, building future leaders is his motto over the years. He has also founded EIILM-Kolkata Center for Leadership and Ethics, EIICL, or 𝗥𝗂𝗰𝗍। Going towards Vedic leadership, আপনাদের বাঁ দিকে যে প্যানেল রয়েছে যেখানে 7টা যে প্রিন্সিপালের কথা বলা রয়েছে, ভেদিক লিডারশিপের কথা তখন যিনি বলছেন, তখন বেদের মধ্যে কিভাবে একজন রাজা তিনি লিডার হতে পারবেন, এবং তার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে কিভাবে তিনি তার মাসকে উদ্বুদ্ধ করতে পারবেন, মাসের জন্য কি করতে পারবেন, তার একটা প্রিন্সিপালস তিনি লিখেছেন, যে বইটা যারা ফলো করবেন তারা বুঝতে পারবেন লিডার হতে গেলে, প্রপার কিং হতে গেলে এক্স্যাক্টলি কী কী করতে হবে। তার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে খুব স্বাভাবিক, যখন তার 8 বছর বয়স, এই গল্পটা আমার ওর থেকেই শোনা প্রথম, যখন তার 8 বা 10 বছর মতো বয়স, তিনি তার দাদুর কাছ থেকে একটা বই পেয়েছিলেন, যে বইটা পড়তে গিয়ে তিনি বুঝতে পেরেছিলেন যে বেদে ঠিক কী কী লেখা রয়েছে, যা তাকে পরবর্তীকালে সত্যের পথ খুঁজে বের করতে বারবার উৎসাহ করে দিয়েছে, অনুপ্রেরণা দিয়েছে। এবং সেই জন্যই সিকিং ট্রুথ, সত্যের পথে তার হাঁটা, যেখানে তিনি তৈরিও করেছেন সত্যের পথ ম্যাগাজিন 2002 সাল থেকে, যেটা নিয়মিত তিনি প্রকাশ করছেন, তিনি এডিট করছেন। সবেমাত্র যে কয়েকটা পিলারের কথা বলেছি, তার সঙ্গে আরও 2টো পিলার এবারে অ্যাড করি। রাজা কখনোই একা কাজ করবেন না, খুব স্বাভাবিক, আজকের যুগের রাজা, যে কোনো সফল রাজা সবাইকে নিয়ে থাকবেন। অ্যান্ড when he is talking about everybody, it's talking about Asian integration. এই এশিয়ান ইন্টিগ্রেশনের ক্ষেত্রে তার নিজের লেখা কিছু কথা, সেই দিয়ে তৈরি হওয়া একটা গান, যে গানটা এশিয়ার সবাইকে নিয়ে একসঙ্গে এক পথে চলার জন্য সবাইকে উদ্বুদ্ধ করতে পারে। And last but not the least, the foundation towards life foundation, যেটা সত্যের পথে সবাইকে নিয়ে একসঙ্গে হাঁটার জন্য তৈরি করা ফাউন্ডেশন। এই 5টা পিলারের কথা এবং সব কিছু মিলিয়ে যখন আজকে আমরা ওয়েবসাইট লঞ্চের দিকে যাব, বা তার আগে স্যারের সম্পর্কে আমি যে কথাগুলো বললাম একটু বড় করে আপনাদের দেখানোর জন্য, we have prepared a special documentary honoring the life and legacy of a true visionary, Professor Dr. 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗪 ব্যানার্জি, academician, edupreneur, author, philanthropist, and thought leader. Let's take a look at the documentary on the screen.
An eminent academician, philanthropist, edupreneur, and thought leader, Professor Dr. 𝗷𝗵𝗄𝗧 Banerjee is an institution unto himself. Over the course of 3.5 decades, he has gathered a wealth of experience as an international educationist, teaching at some of the most prestigious institutions in the world. As a professor of management studies, his influence as an academic is well established both in India and abroad. an MBA and PhD in Management from the University of Calcutta and postdoc from Stockholm University, Sweden, Professor Dr. Banerjee has delivered lectures on invitation at numerous Asian, European and American universities, including Pennsylvania State University, Texas University, Austin, Texas Women's University, Texas University, Dallas, Tarleton State University, University of Kansas, University of Hamburg, Germany, Stockholm University, Sweden, Northwestern University, Switzerland, University of Bristol, IIMs, among others. As an entrepreneur, Professor Dr. Banerjee has been instrumental in redefining the educational ecosystem in India. He is the chairman and director of Eastern Institute for Integrated Learning in Management, EIILM-Kolkata, one of India's leading business schools. Under his visionary guidance, the institute has carved a niche for itself in the competitive landscape of management education, incorporating a blend of modern management theories and traditional spiritual insights, preparing students to be not only skilled professionals but also ethical leaders. Professor Dr. Banerjee has now founded EIILM-Kolkata Center for Leadership and Ethics, EIICL, a flagship initiative of EIILM-Kolkata, as a center to impart value-based education in collaboration with the leading universities and industries of the world. He has developed this center to foster holistic development in students, ensuring they are well equipped to face the challenges of the global business environment. A pioneer in establishing ethics and values in management academics, he has brought into focus Vedic spiritual thoughts for corporate and organizational functioning. He is renowned for his leadership in Vedic wisdom, seamlessly integrating ancient philosophies with contemporary management practices. Professor Dr. Banerjee is also a prolific author, with several publications to his name that explore the intersection of management practices and spiritual philosophies. His writings are influential, providing insights that inspire both academic peers and practitioners in the field. His mastery over diverse disciplines is reflected in the variety of books authored by him. Through his work, he advocates for a balanced approach to leadership that values ethical decision-making and sustainable practices. His remarkable work in the sphere of stress management, mother leadership and integration of Rajdharma, and economic emergence have created a lasting impact on management education. A seeker of truth, Professor Dr. Banerjee is the founder of the non-monastery spiritual organization 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 that believes that God realization is possible even in worldly existence. Dr. Banerjee's first inspiration was his grandfather, late 𝗪𝗵𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗵6 decades ago, Dr. Banerjee received the first Kathopanishad written by Vaishampayan in Krishna Yajurveda from his grandfather. 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗙 of which Professor Dr. Banerjee is the editor. Professor Banerjee is the ideator and convener of the Asian Integration Series of Borderless Asia. He had understood the power of a unified Asian philosophy long before the current trend of Asianism swept through the present-day world. He initiated this in 2018 to stress on the need for collective emergence of all Asian nations to achieve global harmony. International conclaves organized under his expert supervision have seen active participation from thinkers, educators, and industry leaders of global repute. Professor Dr. Banerjee is a noted philanthropist. He has established numerous charitable institutions aimed at uplifting underprivileged communities, providing access to education, healthcare, and other essential services. He set up 𝗕𝗂𝗵𝘃 Foundation in 2006 to help uplift the living conditions of many underprivileged children from different locations of Kolkata. His philanthropic work reflects his deep commitment to social responsibility. Alongside his many roles and responsibilities, Professor Dr. Banerjee is also a fellow at the Institute of Directors, India. His outstanding contribution to education and untiring dedication towards the promotion of quality learning has been acknowledged at the biggest global platforms. In 2024, he was conferred the Bengal British Icon Award for his exceptional role in education and thought leadership. Professor R.P. Banerjee is a visionary leader whose contributions to management education, spiritual thought leadership, and philanthropy have left an indelible mark on society. T.S. Eliot had written, "Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go." Professor Dr. 𝗪𝗵𝗄𝗃 Banerjee is a living example of that. His work continues to inspire future generations to pursue excellence with integrity and compassion.
This video has been created by Mr. 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗆 Roy and his team, Srijan Solutions. The voiceover is scripted by Professor Diya Banerjee, and the voiceover is by eminent journalist Ms. 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗆 𝗪𝗂𝗵𝗿. Can I have a round of applause for the team as well? Thank you so much. We have an august presence of dignitaries from across the globe, and of course from across different fields of life. And it would be my honor to welcome them on stage as we move towards the launch of the website moment. May I invite Dr. Andrew Fleming, British Deputy High Commissioner, East and Northeast India, on the stage, please. Let's put our palms together when we welcome the dignitaries on the stage. Thank you. Professor Dr. Mark H. Taylor, PhD CPA, Director, Lynn Pippenger School of Accountancy, Muma College of Business, University of South Florida, past President, American Accounting Association. May I request your presence on the stage, sir. Ms. Roseanne R. Taylor, eminent author from the United States of America. May I request your presence on the stage as well. It's a request to you all to put your palms together and welcome them gracefully on the stage. Thank you. Ms. Lucky Kulkarni, Director and Group Head, HR, Member of Management Board, Jeena and Company, would request your presence on the stage as well. Professor Dr. R.K. Chauhan, former Secretary, UGC, Government of India, would request your presence, sir. Ms. Isa Shaha, actor, having debuted in the year 2017, having worked in more than 15 films already. 𝗓𝗏𝗓𝗏 Biscuit is a debut movie, 𝗬𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and of course the 𝗓𝗏𝗏 series. Isha Shaha would request your presence on the stage as well. Mr. S.K. Dotto, Oxon, Principal Advisor and Mentor, EIILM-Kolkata, Director, First Act Global Private Limited, and Senior Executive Advisor and Head HR, 𝗔𝗂𝗰𝗋𝗆 McAlvin's Group from the UK. And of course, Mrs. Shipra Banerjee, the CEO of 𝗓𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗏 Foundation. I would request your presence on the stage as well. And and the king himself, Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee. Sir. So we got about 3 minutes to go before the time actually starts. And may I request Mrs. Shipra Banerjee to talk about your journey with Professor Banerjee, as we have seen him growing over the years, before we actually get into the moment of launching the website. Can I have a microphone, please? Okay, I didn't see that. Thank you so much. We got 14, 15 seconds left. So ladies and gentlemen, if you could just take a look at the screen, because we got about, I think, 5 seconds to go. 4, 3, 2, 1, and here we are. A visionary leadership rooted in ancient wisdom, a voice and spirit of oneness, ancient Indian wisdom and truth for human holistic growth and development of individuals, harmonizing diversity with a collective symphony. And here we are. The website is live and active, accessible from across the globe. For a global persona who's been working towards the uplifting of the masses. Since we have an august presence of dignitaries on the stage, we would like to felicitate them. And now I would request Mrs. Shipra Banerjee to honor the dignitaries one after another on stage. Can we begin the process, please? And we'll start with Dr. Andrew Fleming, British Deputy High Commissioner, East and Northeast India. Thank you so very much for your time here, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you put your palms together and honor each of them on stage. We truly are honored with their presence here. Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Professor Dr. Mark H. Taylor. I would request Dr. Banerjee to join hands as well. Sir, apniyo jodi eki shonge. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you so very much. Now we would felicitate Ms. Rosanna Taylor, eminent author coming all the way from the United States of America. And thank you so much for your presence here as well. Now we would felicitate Ms. Lucky Kulkarni, Director and Group Head, HR, Member of Management Board, Jeena and Company. Ladies and gentlemen, your time to put your palms together and honor her on stage. Professor Dr. R.K. Chauhan, former Secretary, UGC, Government of India. Thank you, sir, for your time and for your presence. Ms. Isha Shah, eminent actor, having worked in more than 15 films over the last 7 years since her debut in 2017. 𝗪𝗵𝗂𝗪 𝗪𝗂𝗪 𝗂𝗂𝗪 shown other series, some of her films. Mr. S.K. Dr. Oxon, Principal Advisor and Mentor, EIILM-Kolkata, and Director of First Act Global Private Limited, Senior Executive Advisor and Head HR, GI Infotech, 𝗥𝗪𝗄𝗯𝘀 Group, UK. We have a special felicitation. We have a special person to honor, and none other than the King himself. May I request Dr. Andrew Fleming and Professor Mark H. Taylor to honor Professor Dr. 𝗓𝗵𝗂 Banerjee on stage, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the most important moment of our event, the most honorable moment of our event. Thank you so very much for honoring this particular moment on stage. There's a wonderful frame over there, and we would love to freeze that for our memory. So ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand in a way so that we can take a proper picture, frame it, and keep it with us forever. Thank you so much. Once again, if you could just put your palms together and honor this particular moment on stage. Dignitaries from across the globe and from across different fields of work as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Would request you to take your seats. Thank you so much. I would now request Ms. 𝗪𝗠𝗀 𝗪𝗂𝗧, Creative and Communication Head from Indus Net Technologies, to come on stage to talk about on her reflection on the journey of bridging wisdom with digital transformation, how exactly the video on Professor Dr. 𝗓𝗵𝗂𝗪 Banerjee was made. Ms. 𝗪𝗠𝗀 𝗪𝗂𝗧, Creative and Communication Head, Indus Net Technologies. Sure.
Thank you, Roy. Good afternoon, everyone. In digital transformation, we often speak of building websites, creating brands, and shaping identities. But some projects go beyond technology. They become a journey of learning, reflection, and inspiration. That's exactly what happened when Indus Net Technologies took on the privilege of developing Dr. 𝗓𝗵𝗂𝗪 Banerjee's official website. Dr. Banerjee is more than an academician. He's a visionary, mentor, and spiritual guide whose influence extends across management, leadership, and social transformation. His ability to blend Vedic wisdom with modern management makes him a thought leader whose insights need to be shared with the world. This website, thus, is not just a digital platform. It is a gateway to his philosophy, teachings, and mission. At INT, when we began thinking we were developing a website, we just thought it's just a website, right? But no. As we explored his vast body of work, from Vedic leadership and social emergence to Asian integration, 𝗥𝗄𝗃 Vikas, and seeking truth, we realized that this was an education in itself. We absorbed his teachings, reflected on his impact, and grew in the process. His vision of bridging ancient wisdom with contemporary leadership resonated deeply with us, and we worked to translate it into a platform that is intuitive, engaging, and true to his mission. Now, as we prepare to launch 𝗓𝗵𝗂𝗍𝗔.org, we feel pride and gratitude for the opportunity to be part of something bigger than just a website. It is a legacy, a source of wisdom, and a call to transformation. We invite you all to explore, engage, and embark on this journey because, as we have learned, when you engage with Dr. Banerjee's teachings, you don't just read, you evolve. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, now it's the time to listen to the dignitaries from across the globe who would talk about the king, and not only about the king, but the journey that he has made over the years and the way they have seen him going to different universities, talking to people, talking about his visions, his wisdom, and how exactly he visions the entire world and how he wants to unite them together. I would invite Professor Dr. Mark H. Taylor, PhD CPA, Director, Lynn Pippenger School of Accountancy, Muma College of Business, University of South Florida, and past President, American Accounting Association, to come on stage, please. Thank you. Can I expect a huge round of applause for him? Thank you so very much. Yeah.
Good afternoon. What an honor to be here. My name is Mark Taylor, and I'm extremely grateful to have been invited to join this historic gathering by the great 𝗓𝗵𝗂𝗍𝗔. 𝗓𝗵 and I met in the summer of 2023 at the annual meeting of the American Accounting Association in Denver, Colorado. On the final day of the meeting, we had convened what is known as the Global Gathering. 𝗓𝗵 was there representing the Indian Accounting Association. He made a big splash that day as we went around and introduced ourselves. Although he didn't say that many words, his presence, his demeanor, and his purpose spoke volumes. He can speak 1,000 verses without saying a single word. His presence carries a power and movement of its own. I knew immediately that I would like to get to know this man better. God heard my prayer as soon Dr. Banerjee had Jayanta Saha reach out to me and invite me to come to Calcutta in January of 2024 to mingle with faculty, students, and professionals at a convention. And it was an experience that I will never forget. Not only did I have the chance to get to know 𝗓𝗵, I got to know other individuals that he had assembled. Professor Ujshab, Dr. Sanchita, and Priyanita, doctoral candidate Priyanita, all proved to be amazing hosts during that trip and helped me get to know Calcutta. I was privileged to address the conference, and that day they thought they were going to hear a boring talk from an accounting professional academic. But instead, the night before, I became inspired to speak about something completely outside of myself, and that was the universe that we live in and our place in it, trying to inspire us to look way beyond our education, the student's education and career, to consider the extremely low odds that we have of even existing on this earth, and to help them see that we should seek to use our very brief time here to its greatest use in relieving the burdens of others and sharing kindness in the message of Professor Banerjee, with all of the other virtues that flow from that. Indeed, we must all find a way to support ourselves, but rather than work to live, rather than live to work, we need to work to live. That night before giving that talk, I stayed up the entire night to assemble those thoughts, thinking about Professor Banerjee and what he might have me say. I could have taken the easy way out and just talked about accounting, but instead spent the entire night trying to come up with something inspiring. And on the way back to Tampa, I realized that it was he that induced me to think those thoughts. It was Professor Banerjee and his message and his example, to have a higher level of communication that day and to inspire the lives of those students to live in a way that when God calls us home, we will leave this earth behind and those of our associates in a higher plane of life with an understanding of the principles that we tried to live by and inspire them to take those and amplify those and those that Professor Banerjee has taught us. I stand here in deep humility that RP invited Roseanne and myself to join here today among them in this significant milestone in his life among many, many milestones. If you know RP, he is a vast ocean of knowledge. And I am just a little bubble on the surface trying to get as much as I can from this wonderful man. And to be here among all the honored guests that include Andrew Fleming, my dear wife Roseanne, Lucky, and Isha, and SK Dutt, and RP's beloved Sipra, I very much feel like a toddler among giants. So today, RP, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. For inviting us here, but more importantly, for your example of leadership, for bestowing truths upon us that if we live by, we will vastly enlarge and improve our lives and those around us. Congratulations on this momentous day, and thank you so much, Professor Banerjee. We love you and revere you, and we congratulate you on this day.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And I can vouch for the fact, the way you said, is an ocean of wisdom. I have had the opportunity of meeting him over the last 3 or 4 years, I think 5 or 6 number of times. Had the opportunity of talking to him through a discussion on Bangla language. It's not only about the Bangla language that I know that he has a wisdom of, but he is an ocean about Vedic principles as well. And if you just take a look there on the panel to your left, the 7 principles available in his book, they talk about his deep knowledge of Vedas and other principles laid out there. Next, I would request Ms. Roseanne R. Taylor, eminent author from the United States of America, to come on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our palms together and welcome her on stage.
What an honor it is for me to be here today to celebrate this magnificent event with the Banerjees. Thank you for letting me be here. I met Dr. Banerjee and his beautiful wife and lovely friends last June in Tampa, Florida. We went to dinner at a restaurant, and then we were able to return to our home for some dessert. And I knew of Dr. Banerjee from Mark, but that was the first time I had met him. And so I was observing him during the dinner and the dessert. And at first I thought, oh, he's a quiet, humble man, which I was right. And then I looked deeper into his eyes, and I could see his intelligence and his beautiful heart and what a caring man he is. And how did I know he was caring? Because he is so thoughtful of others and generous and wants to help and teach, and that shines out through him always. He's very concerned with details, which shows that he cares. He lives a life of integrity. He wants to help and teach all those around him, no matter their age. He spends the time that's required to teach and uplift those that are around him. We are blessed to know him and his lovely wife, who is like a sister to me. Not only do they bless us, but we can learn from them and be better people. And that's one of my goals. But it takes more than intelligence and desire to have an impact. We must act, as Professor Banerjee and his wife Sipra have done. We must do what is required to accomplish success. I feel like we are God's hands here on the earth. He's not here, so he works through us. We are the ones that help and lift and teach. We have to do the work, even if it's hard, even if it's scary. We just have to find our brave and put it on and be successful. And we can with his help. That's the wonderful blessing and promise of that whole thing. So I'd like you with me to just imagine a pool of clear blue water for a minute. Imagine if you reached your hand out and dropped just one drop of water into that pool. Just one drop, just one act of service or help that you give to somebody. That one drop ripples out, and it keeps rippling out, and it affects everyone around, and it continues to go outward. Our acts of service that we give and the time that we take to teach and uplift others and help others will cause ripples in the lives of everyone around us. And the ripples will continue just like that beautiful blue pool with the work and service and the help that we give to each other. And I think that would be the best thing that we could do to honor Dr. Banerjee and his wife if we continued that legacy of integrity and help and love that they've shown to everyone around us, around them. And again, I'm just so grateful to be here. Thank you. It's been an honor, and congratulations today. What a beautiful day. Thank you.
Roseanne, you talked about ripples, and Dr. Taylor, you talked about the ocean. I'll talk about a pearl. Though R.P. Banerjee stands for 𝗪𝗵𝗪𝗶 Banerjee, I would maybe, a little bit of audacity maybe, and add something new to these two letters. Maybe the R is for radiating, and the P is for pearl. A radiating pearl himself, a pearl of wisdom, a pearl of vision, a pearl that's radiating continuously and would do so. Even at the age of 68, 7 shy of being 75, a very young man. All the interactions that I have had with a person, I've seen the glitter in his eyes, the way he talks about Vedic principles, and I'm here to learn much from him. Next, I would request Ms. 𝗥𝗃𝗁𝗀, Director and Group Head HR, Member of Management Board, Jeena and Company, to come on stage, please. Let's put our palms together and welcome her on stage. Ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Banerjee, for inviting me here. It's really, really a privilege and honor to be a part here. Friends, I have a journey of 28 years managing people, working in corporates. I've met multiple leaders, spiritual followers. I have met authors. I have met entrepreneurs. I have met multiple people. But all in one are very rare, and that is what Dr. Banerjee is. I see, in today's world, it is easy to be a professional businessman, run an institute. It's very easy to be a monk and a spiritual person, but together both, it's not easy, friends. You're living in this world which is a lot of compromises. And then following the spiritual path, and not only following, even educating that, asking people to follow, writing books. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Friends, we have very, very rich culture and heritage. But how many of us have gone through Vedas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Gita? Not everyone. But here, maybe because we are too busy with our time, or maybe it is too intense, it is too deep, and we are not able to understand. But Dr. Banerjee is simplifying it. He's speaking the language that a common person can understand, like you and me, who might not be very spiritual, might not, gone through scriptures. But his work makes it so easy. I liked one book here, Leadership Mother. And I was so touched because the real leadership is taught to a child by a mother. She manages multiple things. And when I was talking to Dr. Banerjee, he told me he wrote this 32 years back. that amazes me again. I'm so happy to be a part of this launch. This was much needed, sir, because the work that you've done not only inspires people, but will always be there for the generations to follow. I must also tell you, we've hired some interns from this institute, and I find them a bit different from the other management institute. They know the culture, they understand ethics, and they follow the principle. And it all comes from the top. So I've been knowing Dr. Banerjee for last few years. Each time I meet him, there is something to learn. Thank you once again, all of you.
I have a bad habit of playing with words, word games in fact. So allow me to play with the letters of the name EIILM. For the timing, I'll remove one of the letters I and take the 4 letters from there and rearrange them and bring out mile, M-I-L-E. So there's a mile in EIILM. And the students need to start from somewhere. 0 is nothing, 1 is the beginning. They need to start from 1 mile and go to miles before they actually conquer the globe, with the vision, of course, of Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee. Next, I would invite Professor Dr. R.K. Chauhan, former Secretary, UGC Government of India, to come on stage, please.
Good evening to all of you. I am grateful to Dr. R.P. Banerjee for giving us this opportunity to be present here on this auspicious occasion of launch of his website. I first met him when I was Secretary UGC. Many of you may be knowing or may not be knowing about the functioning of the UGC. The UGC functions based on the advice of the academics from the various disciplines in the country. And Professor Banerjee was one of the experts when we first met in UGC. And after that interaction, our intimacy started increasing because of his diverse interest in various disciplines. When we were seeing this, I have been seeing it for the last many years, but for many of us, this is all very new thing. Generally, professor, they don't write that much. UGC has been propagating value and moral education back from 6th 5-year plan. But it is Dr. R.P. Banerjee who has made it a point to implement that. I just want to narrate an incident of one of the member of the UGC. My daughter-in-law is also a professor of management. And he used to come to my house and tell her that you management people have started preaching dishonesty. She was always opposing, because everybody will oppose anything against the discipline. Then his viewpoint was that the tricks to make money is start by you people. The Indian old system was very honest system, and everybody was working honestly. It is Dr. R.P. Banerjee who has integrated both the things. With the management education, he has integrated value education and moral education to the students. And as Madam before me narrated, that is reflected in the product of this institute in the shape of students. Dr. Banerjee has also made many new marks. I have been requesting him for starting a big university which is maybe unique in the country, and I am glad that he is working on that line. And in the maybe we may be meeting here after few years for the some good occasion of that university. I congratulate you for your enormous efforts for bringing morality and value education in the educational system, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chauhan. My next guest to come on stage is an actor of repute over the last 7 years. She has acted in films like 𝗓𝗄𝗵𝗂 Biscuit, Sweater, Golandaj. But if I, for the timing, keep aside all of them, and why would she fit here? Because of the name of a character in one of her series called Shonada. The name of the character is Jhinook. Now, Jhinook is oyster where pearls are found. And since I talked about Professor R.P. Banerjee in the way radiating pearl, Jhinook and Professor Banerjee, they fit together. Let's welcome Isha Shah on stage with our palms together in a grand manner. Welcome.
আমার মাইক থেকে ভয় করে যে কোনো একটাতেই প্রবলেম Good afternoon sir. Firstly I want to thank you for having me today. I'm really grateful to you. এখানে থাকতে পেরে খুব ভালো লাগছে এতগুলো মানুষের সঙ্গে. I've been a part of many occasions, many celebrations, book launches. I remember I was there when you launched your book about stress management. I was there when you launched another book in Chicago NABC last year. And today, I'm extremely delighted to be here when your website is going to be launched. What should I say? I forgot everything. I'm blank. Thank you so much, sir. I'm super proud to be associated with you. And I think now your vision, your knowledge, and your work will be documented online for the rest of the generation and the rest of the world. So, bas setai ami bhoy pai eto lok dekhle ami bhule gechi sob kichu. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you so very much.
Actually ami camera pechone beshi comfortable.
The eyes are cameras as well, so yes. Now, to invite Dr. Andrew Fleming, British Deputy High Commissioner, East and Northeast India, sir, would request your presence on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, let's put our palms together and welcome him as well.
Namaskar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I think I'm at a disadvantage on all the rest of you. You know, I've heard from Professor Mark about his first encounter with RP, if I may. I've just heard from my friend Isha about the various book launches that she's attended over the years. I asked sir when I came in how many books have you written, and he didn't even know the answer because he's written so many. You know, and that says something about this gentleman. But you know, what is very clear today is the first time I've met him, and much of what has been said clearly resonates with me. You know, as a diplomat, I get invited to go and speak at all kinds of different events, and I never quite know what I'm going to find there, what I'm going to expect. And I try and do a little bit of homework before I go to each and every one. And I was reading a bit about Vedic philosophy. I've come across it before. I've come across it in the 7 years I've lived in India. It's impossible not to. But I haven't looked at it too deeply. Part of my plea for not doing so is that I have a wife who's Buddhist, and she's deeply studying her own faith. And so we have lots and lots of conversations almost every night about what she's learning. But reading about this actually is really interesting. What makes a good leader, I think, is always somebody that understands that bigger picture, and spirituality is a really important part of that. So as I came in today and walked along the red carpet, RP was explaining about his 7 values, but I'd written down 7 before I came from my own research. Truth, non-violence, compassion, generosity, acting for the masses, sacred believer, and natural order, which are not too similar from the 7 there, but I think all of them also would apply to strong and effective and good leadership. And I think this, applies to many other great leaders who really merge their leadership vision with their faith vision, whichever faith it may be that they come from, whichever philosophy it is that they have deeply embraced. So I think it's fascinating, and clearly the result is quite visible in this room by listening to each one of you, by seeing how many people are filling up the room, and also I think that this is a day that I should definitely remember for a long time. Looking ahead, I've been very impressed by all the different institutions that you have been associated with, sir, in Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, US. I was very happy in the video to see that Bristol briefly popped up. And I guess, as a representative of Her Majesty's government, I can only hope that we can work with your institution to make more contacts with more British universities in the future. And I'm sure that with the appetite for always new and different and refreshing ideas on leadership, there'll be plenty of interest and potential in doing that. So definitely one action for me will be connecting you with the relevant colleagues in my team to take that forward. But thank you very much for the invitation. Let me also thank the institution for their support for the Bengal-Britain Travel Friendship Cup, which played out this weekend between a number of teams from the travel industry, a team from the UK in India, and for the first time we also had a friendly match between 2 women teams. I don't think anyone in this room was there. It wasn't as friendly as you might have thought, but it certainly provided plenty of entertainment. But as to who won, I will always say it was the women that won, because they were the ones who were on the field, and it was the men that were there cheering them on. The complete opposite of what I'd seen the year before. And I think that's also important and comes down into leadership and about inclusion of all. So I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you again, sir. And I really look forward to exploring your website. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fleming. We get into the second chapter, if I'm to put it like that, of our event today, and we'll rearrange the stage in a manner so that 3 people can sit here. Let's rearrange the set, or rather the stage, in a way. And if you take a look at my attire, I'm a true Bengali at heart. Amar bhalo naam, or rather my name is 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗰𝗍𝗄𝗎, though I was known as Roy or RJ Roy during my radio jockeying days. So though my attire... So though my attire showcases a true Bengali, I'm speaking in a global language. Obviously, English as a language is known more globally than Bangla and few other languages. So it's a mix of maybe traditions, mix of languages, mix of cultures, etc. And on the stage, I'll be honored, rather, to join in a conversation with Dr. R.P. Banerjee and Mr. S.K. Dotto. The discussion would vary from mother leadership to Vedic principles and few other areas that we have so far recognized for the discussion. So as we set the stage for you, This obviously would be a journey, as we presume, would be a journey quite enriching for you. As you take a look on the panel to your left, the 7 principles of Vedas or other things which Dr. Banerjee has written in his numerous number of books would give you certain idea about Vedas and way of life, 𝗕𝘄𝘄𝗄 and other things. But I believe this discussion, the way we have planned, would give you a synopsis of what to look for in his multiple books and of course on his website. So we think we are all set for the discussion to happen. We'll try our best to keep it short and sweet, of course. And let me invite Mr. 𝗓𝘂𝗄𝗄𝗏 of Oxon, Principal Advisor and Mentor, EIILM-Kolkata, and Director, First Act Global Private Limited, Senior Executive Advisor and Head HR, GI Infotech, 𝗙𝗂𝗵𝘂𝗵𝗏 Group UK on stage. So, and of course, Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee would take the center stage, would take the center chair, and it would be my honor to share the stage with these 2 dignitaries, these 2 very, very special people here. I would request a microphone, 2 microphones rather on the stage, one for each of them. This would be a discussion. We have questions framed in our minds. And I would request Mr. Dotto to begin the session, sir. Sir's asking me, you're going to ask me questions? Looks like we're interviewing him and he's appearing for his interview to maybe getting admitted to a center or something. No, we are rather afraid because we do not know if you're asking the right questions to him within a very short frame of time of, say, about 10 minutes. তাই না, মিস্টার দত্ত? মানে আমরা ঠিক প্রশ্ন জিজ্ঞেস করবো কিনা এইটুকু সময়ের মধ্যে সেই নিয়ে আমাদের বরং ভয় রয়েছে। We rather afraid of that.
Very true, very true. Good afternoon and thank you all so very much for being here this afternoon. Personally, this is a very, very gratifying moment for me because I know Dr. Banerjee for the last 2 decades or so. And I have been sort of witness to his journey of growth and leadership. And therefore, you know, I mean, when I speak of certain elements, I speak with that much of authenticity because I have witnessed it firsthand, kind of, you know, so that really helps. So every time, you know, and this friendship, I mean, I was, you know, like from the industry side and Dr. Banerjee was representing the academia. But as 𝗥𝗂𝗰𝗶 mentioned, you know, I mean, he's one person who combines industry, academia, both. So as much as I was from the industry and he, but, you know, like he sort of had the knowledge of both sides. And the friendship sort of, you know, panned out this way that whenever he would come to Mumbai, where I worked for the last 30 years, and I would come to Calcutta with no specific agenda, we'll just pick up the phone and say, sir, are you available? Or he would check, Mr. Dutt, are you available? And we'll just have a chat. And one thing that is very common between him and me is endless cups of tea and coffee, and of course black tea or black coffee, right? So that's how it all happens. If I know correctly, Dr. Banerjee, you know, and from what I have heard from the grapevine, he was extremely reluctant, you know, in terms of launching of this website because under no circumstances did he want it to be a branding of himself. But let me sort of give you an example of 𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗂𝗃𝗏. And in one context he had said, and you know, like, I mean, I'm sort of talking about the work, and in one context he said that when you think of Vivekananda, don't think of Vivekananda as a human being. First think of him as principles, of values that he represents. So, you know, when the team of EIILM and others convinced him to actually have this launch, it was more because of the, you know, like the principles and the values that he represents, and not so much as Dr. R.P. Banerjee, which is an important thing to note, right? And I have seen him consistently, and when I say this last 20 years, consistently combine the values that he believes in, the passion that he demonstrates, and once again, as Lucky so nicely said, it's easy to hold any one role of either you are a spiritual person or a monk, or you are an edupreneur. But to be able to combine this consistently requires knowledge and passion. So therefore, sir, coming quickly as we have limited time, you would allow me to first begin with what are some of the principles and values or people who have inspired you, and in some sense, what is the message that you would like to sort of give to the younger generation, the students, etc. Who are the people who have inspired you, some core values, and the message to the younger generation, the students, and others?
Oh God, it was a big question. This question requires, long answer. But again, thank you very much, Yes, appreciate Dr. Mr. 𝗪𝗓𝗍𝗓, my very close friend, good friend, and that he has mentioned that I was not really prepared, or it was not in my design of things. I've never thought about it, honestly, sincerely. It was, proposal which came from my, colleagues, close people, friends, and then I thought the argument that Mr. Dutt has given about Swami Vivekananda, that certain principles are actually needed to be, not really sprayed, but to, use as a sensitization for the world. I believe the problems of the modern world, and consistently the problems that I have been finding through the studies of histories of the civilizations and history of the world, it centers around the individual's own identity and own making. The character, the behavior of the person can make a difference. The problems of the world are so many. I understand the problem as a problem of bondage. We are bonded to our own small limits. I identify this as pettiness, meanness, and smallness that we are actually encircled with. When we make our mind broader, we can reach out to the extreme end and corners of the world. Our wishes can make things happen. Collective wish can make things, happen in a transformative manner. In the ancient Indian civilization, the Vedic sages were living a normal, working life. They were all people of the society. None of the Vedic sages was a monk. Monk in the sense that we understand as of now. What our good friend Lucky has mentioned, that yes, the two compartments are different. The world of business, world of industry, world of the societies, and the world of spirituality, these two are really different. I don't believe that these two are different. In fact, our sages had lived life of normal. The great sages who have contributed to the fundamentals of truth, wisdom, and goodness in the human civilization, they were all people having their families. They were parents. Why I'm saying parents? Because there is a notion that in India, the sages were represented by only the male members. It's a wrong notion. I just mentioned in Rig Vedas, 107 sages are found through their names, enter Rig Vedas. Just, I mentioned I was, so much, graced by the divine that I got a person at the very early life as my grandfather, but by that time he became blind of glaucoma. That time glaucoma did not have any treatment, but very strong sense he had preserved a small book with a dirty cover, meaning a cover which is so many times used, that's why. Not dirty with, dirts, but, faded out. And he gave me 𝗕𝗂𝗵𝘂𝗁, small. I had kept that with me. I guess it's still with me. And he had said that go through this and if possible, read out the Mahabharata. And thereafter you will find Bhagavad Gita, a guiding principle. So that was in the earliest thought. I was attracted to science, a student of physics, had a very strong inclination for mathematics. Even now I am having very strong affinity to mathematics and physics. I do regular studies. I'm aware of the latest theories of that also. I'm into that. But I find life requires a fundamental pillar as a principle, which Dr. Sahib has mentioned as a question, that what are the principles? I believe there should be some fundamental principles in our life. And there should be a clear answer. Why this life? Why this life is very important to know. Are we living to just for the sake of just living, maintaining the days, proceeding towards the days and inviting the next day and have the same day forward? I am graced by God with the strength of mind that I can assert myself. I have a, resolve in myself that every day I have to create an output of certain magnitude, come what may. If I'm flying, if I'm traveling, if I'm doing the work, if I'm away, if I'm at home, if I'm in office, if I'm in other work, if I'm doing work for consulting or lectures, seminars, workshops, anything that I do, I have to assert myself. I have to train myself. I have to monitor and master myself to give me the daily output that way, but that should be across the fundamental principle. And I believe the Vedic principle has talked about the three fundamental pillars. One is equality, the other one is fraternity, the third is freedom. Equality, the first opening song which Somrita had, it was mentioned so beautifully by Somrita, our young colleague in our organization. She's a beautiful, nice singer. Sam gacchodvang, sang badudvang, sang mumanamsi janutam. Then she has mentioned the next, stanza, first line. Samani bo akutihi samana samani hridayani vaha. This means, Sam gacchodvang is let's have a collective journey forward. If we collect it forward, that's what is there in the principle which Mr. Rai has mentioned. That in the principle is that a mass orientation. The leaders should be oriented to the masses. This day, Lucky is there, Mr. Dutt is there, they have experience of managing a large number of people as head of the corporate HR, manpower head. I guess more than 100,000 people in each case. And they know the power of the mass in the organization when they are, coordinated in a synthesized manner in a unidirection. Vedic sages have said, let us have our minds together and we create equality. The thoughts of equality were not there in the, books of any political, philosopher. No political philosopher in the world as yet. It was there in the Vedic period, which is roughly 20,000 years ago. We have done a proper estimation, and there are two scholars who have mentioned that, one from London and one from Germany. They have also supported that way of understanding. And you see, the thoughts of equality was there. How are we equal? Because we understand and believe that the Supreme Being is present within ourselves in the form of Atman. Atmana rathina vidhi shariram ratham eva-tohu buddhi tu sarati vidhi manaha pragraham eva-chaha. You take it for, certain that Atman, the Supreme, is present within you as your soul within the cave of your heart, and you are getting driven by your external intellect and the conscious mind which is conscious of the world. But the moment you are connected to that intrinsics, you can make greater things happen. So the objective of the Vedic study and connecting the Vedic observations, Dr. Sahib, with the principles of corporatization is to make the world understand that yes, it is possible to live what is spirituality. Spirit-driven life is spirituality. Yes, it is possible to live life driven by the Holy Spirit or the noble spirit. And if that is so, then we can make the world a better world. No doubt about it. The evils which are there, we can get out of those evils. We can have equality, we can have fraternity, and we can have freedom. That's the basic understanding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Rai Sahib?
So, I do have a question in my mind, but then again, the way you narrated certain principles of Veda, I'll go back to what I read there and what I had on my mind. So, a king, in today's terms, has to be a leader. And the way I said, quoting Rabindranath, Raja Shobare Dan Man, Sheman Apni Phire Pan. So he'll have to give to the masses in a way that he receives in an equal form. So the equality we're talking about, applicable only for the king or for the masses, or in terms of man, woman taking part in a certain role in equal way, like could be a leader. He need not be a man only, it could be a woman as well. So equality in that terms, or the leader will always be a leader, but then again, the mass needs to be away from him or needs to be closer to him in terms of equality.
Yeah, what you have quoted, the objective should not be that. Meaning, the objective of the principle of giving is known as a, Jungya. What is Jungya? When you pour the Ghritam, meaning purified butter, clarified butter, when you pour into the fire, fire gets, larger than previous position, greater fire. But can you get it back? The clarified butter you can't get back. So you as a king, you have to do something with the spirit of sacrifice, not with the intent to get back something. So, it is your responsibility to see that you are equal with the others and to make them happen that way. What is equality? It has been mentioned, this is a long discourse. One of the sages, 𝗏𝗏𝗃, he came to his, master, Gautama, and he was asking about, can you make me a simple way of understanding what is Brahman, meaning the Brahma Gyan, the spirit of or the wisdom of the Supreme. How do I understand that? I get a lot of similarities between when I visited the sun machine in Switzerland. I found that, there is a history why the Nataraj Shiva is there. There was a discussion among 42 scientists about a symbol to be placed before the scientific center. What could be the symbol? There are a lot of countries who are eager to fund that. Even India did not have any hesitation. It's long back. So the 𝗪𝗵𝗯𝘀𝗶 was a decision. It was a proposal out of 42. Only one person, he is not an Indian. He is from European region, studied in Max Planck Institute, and then gone there. He said that something should be there where the fundamentals from the very minute to the mega. 𝗓𝗄𝗰𝗵𝗂𝗔𝗪𝗔 𝗔𝗓𝗔𝗔. Meaning it's the smaller than the smallest that you can conceive of, and larger than the largest that you can, any time you can have some ideas of. And that you have to identify. The moment you identify that, then you understand that you are equal. Equality is where? At the fundamental spirit of that you are equal. But the equality you have to identify in terms of your intrinsics and allow everybody to make it flourish and be blossoming will happen in their respective manner. So you don't force anybody to blossom in a particular manner. Why the dictatorships have failed in the world and are likely to fail the remaining ones? Why? Because you cannot structure it down to your own case. You have to allow it to blossom. But the seeding is there, and that seed has to be, sensitized. So the sensitization should be based on the fundamental principles. If that happens, then we have a better world. And therefore the king or the leader will be a leader of the minds of people. A leader will be connected to the minds, hearts. Samani akuti, samanaha samani 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗰𝗔. Meaning we have our connections in the hearts. It's a heart-to-heart connection. The mind connects with the minds. So we get a collective mind and we create a collective consciousness. And that's possible.
Thank you so very much. Much inspiring for me. Over to Mr. Dutt. Sir.
Thank you, sir. So once again, getting back to beginning with Swami Vivekananda, he had stated that if you don't believe in yourself, you can't believe in God. A man who does not believe in himself cannot believe in God, right? So that's the definition of spiritualism in another sense, is that spiritualism does not mean that you only believe in God. People who are non-believers also need to believe in themselves. That is the other dimension of spiritualism. And as you rightly said, that I heard like what you just stated as one of the best examples of spiritualism, which is being led by the Spirit, right? And I think in short, and as Lucky had said, how people relate, and I think that's one of the best that I have ever heard, and which is so simple to relate actually. Now, putting it entirely in the context of preparing students for future, real life, and I'm asking this question purely in the context of students and future leadership, there are three streams which we face in the world today. One is, man is essentially a spiritual being in the core which we are understanding all over the world now. The other thing is competition, and these three things may appear prima facie to be a little disparate, but there is great linkage. The other is students are facing competition. We as professionals face competition day in, day out. It is becoming so fierce that, when we were there in Chicago in the SHRM annual conference, such fundamental things as civility was the theme of the conference. One word, civility, because of competition, whether it is political competition or otherwise, we are losing civility, right? So one is we human beings are spiritual beings. The other dimension is that competition, and intense and fierce competition, which is faced in particular by the, like students. And the other is, rapid progress in the domain of technology. Like all that we get to hear about machine learning, AI, and technological advancement happening at breakneck speed, right? When you prepare students for the future, how are we sort of I know that you do, but I would just like to have hear a few words from you in terms of how are we combining these apparently, conflicting demands.
Oh yes, thank you so much. First of all, I'll mention that I truly love and like my students. I love each of the students, and I don't differentiate between the winner or the loser and the achiever and non-achiever. Honestly speaking, I don't do that. Whenever and wherever, in any occasion, I meet or I happen to meet any of my students, former students, many of them are so highly placed and highly achieved. They've gone to the top in life, and many could not, but I don't differentiate between them. Why? Because I believe that, you have to activate on, your own, you have to work on your own intrinsic principles. And I believe there everybody has got the same potentials available. Abundance of potential is there. Our role as a teacher is to sensitize. What can we do? We can, that's why it's mentioned that, 𝗙𝗯𝗀𝗀 𝗙𝗯𝗀𝗀. 𝗙𝗯𝗀𝗀𝗀. You'll find that, a particle, when you come to the fundamental particle, the particle has got a movement always. Swami Vivekananda has mentioned, you have talked about Swami Vivekananda. He's mentioned on Karma Yoga, that was the California talk. There he has mentioned that, even the atoms don't sleep. Why do you sleep? You arise. 𝗪𝗓𝗔 𝗪𝗂𝗰𝗵 𝗪𝗂𝗏 निबोधतो. So what is the purpose of a teacher? Can you really teach the lessons that you think will be always, taken the way you are teaching by them? Can you really do that? For example, making of a character, making up a personality. You can teach them certain tools, techniques, certain messages you can give them so that they can keep that in mind. What we have to do is, we have to kindle the flame within. The flame within, if we can illumine that, then our purpose is really served. And if we can illumine with an objective, the objective that is going to take them to a finer personality. Civility is a question. Why? Because people have lost the sense that when I'm doing the competition, I'm knocking somebody out. Why? When we started the values movement in our country almost 30 years ago, and a few professors, and then we initiated, we were ridiculed. Lucky Madam was mentioning about my mother leadership. I just mentioned just here in this forum, I have no problem in mentioning. The moment mother leadership was, issued, meaning was published from Delhi, within a month, statesman in Calcutta wrote a half a page, review of the book, scolding and ridiculing, and a lot of negative things. And it had charged me saying that here is a young professor who is actually, creating problem for the children, because, if they are, maintaining an honest and, pure life, then their potential as a manager will be lost. They will not be able to function as a manager. So this was a statesman review. I thought that, okay, that's the reward I have got. God has reserved that for me. This is okay. I did not answer. And suddenly I found that one of my friends from Chennai, he gave me a call saying that, I'm sending you a copy of this, copy of Hindu. I said, what do I do? I can collect from Kolkata. You tell me what. So he told me the next day it comes. That time it used to come the next day. So I had collected the copy of Hindu. It's almost a month after that. And I found just the opposite. And it has welcomed that, saying that it's a new spirit, it's going to give a shift. So when Professor Chauhan was mentioning that when we met in the UGC in the forum, then I was actually suggesting on the orientation, meaning orientation, what are the values? So the values, I said that, you look at the banyan tree. if you cut the roots of the tree, what shall remain? The tree won't survive longer. So you have to have the roots, maintain the roots, then you define, or you may redefine the branches and the other things which the tree has. So, never cut the roots. So roots have to be there. Our human roots are there in divinity. Every human person on this earth has a divine root. It does not, differentiate between a person of the East and West, North and South, or in any national identity or cultural identity or even religious identity. No differentiation. Is the same, homogeneity. That's what is the mention. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is mentioning that 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗵𝗂𝗪 tang 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗵𝗺 𝗪𝗂𝗔𝗪. The person, anybody in any way thinks about me, as Mr. Dutt has mentioned, the non-God. Yes, no problem. If you can live a life of goodness, fairness, you don't have to come. What is the, godly attitude? You maintain a good life. You be good to others. You be good to the society. And how can our young people do that? They are good. They have the goodness within themselves. We have to just mention that you are, representatives of those good entities. You have the goodness. So you refer to that alone. That itself will solve it, because they know how to do it. They will do in their own way. I don't find that young are doing mistakes. I support them, but they are doing whatever. Let them do some mistakes. Then they will realize and understand what is the right pathway, what is the right thing. And I'm sure the young of today will do some better things, some, more suitable things, more godly things in future than what has happened in the past. Thank you.
Mr. Dutt, we have to conclude the discussion. I would request you to formally conclude the discussion, please.
So I think you've given me an onerous task. But no problem. Well, yeah, it's on. Thank you. Thanks. In terms of the discussion that we have just had, what comes out really is, on one hand, I think some ancient values of India, the core being spiritualism and, eminent people like Professor Banerjee, being able to, put that up in the new avatar through his work, through the books, etc. Imagine finance in the Vedic way, right? But there is a certain aspect of even, putting up finance, because, one of the questions that was going on in my mind is, the hard skills and the soft skills, and I have seen Dr. Banerjee combine that. That's in the Indian ethos what we call as the karma, So it does not mean good in the sense in which we just believe good being just nice. It's a question of being qualified nice, where you hold on to your values, but at the same time, you are also able to combine the hard skills and the soft skills, which I think is mastered to perfection, right? And I think the Gita, in particular, to the very little extent that I know, and you are really wary of even mentioning that in front of stalwarts like Dr. Banerjee, preaches exactly that in terms of how you go about doing your day-to-day work without letting go of your values and principles. I really think that Dr. Banerjee has been, and as I had mentioned to you at the inception, I now know him for 20 years plus, and I have seen that he's almost practically lived it every day of his life, and genuinely so. And I think he's a missionary. He works with a mission, and any, value or principle that you hold in life, you have to have missionary zeal. And I think he demonstrates that as well. And in conclusion on my part, and in fact, Roy, I would request you to also say a few words in conclusion, but having said that, at the end of the day, I think it's all about being a good human being. And I think what Dr. Banerjee is doing is teaching his students and everybody else who has come in touch with him and through his books, how do we become, better human beings, and how do we cope with real life more efficiently and more effectively, by even doing stress management through mind engineering, as his title of the book says. Thank you all so very much. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutt. Before we conclude the entire event, let me remind you that we have a book launch session on the 5th of February, a couple of days later. 2 new books written by Professor Dr. Banerjee are releasing, Bedosnan, 𝗪𝗧𝗪 𝗪𝗂𝗰𝗵 and The Vedas, Wisdom and Truth for Human Emergence, 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗰. These 2 books will be released on the 5th of February 2025 at the book fair going on right now. Before we go towards the vote of thanks, there's an interaction with the media and a high tea as well. But before that, Professor Srimoi Ghosh from EIILM-Kolkata to talk about the event and thank people. Thank you so much.
A very good afternoon to all. As we come to the conclusion of this momentous occasion, I have the honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the entire EIILM-Kolkata family. First and foremost, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to all our distinguished guests who graced this occasion with their presence today. Your participation adds great value to this event and reflects the significance of this occasion. Thanks to Dr. Andrew Fleming, Professor Dr. Mark H. Taylor, Ms. Rosen R. Taylor, Ms. Lucky Kulkarni, Professor Dr. R.K. Chauhan, Ms. Isha Shaha. A special thanks to Mr. S.K. Dutt, a dear family member of EIILM-Kolkata, for enriching our understanding of Professor Dr. Banerjee's legacy and contributions. We are particularly grateful to Professor Somrita Chakraborty for the beautiful inaugural song, which set a warm tone for the event. Sincere thanks to R.J. Roy for wonderfully taking us through this entire program. Our heartfelt thanks to Mrs. Shipra Banerjee for being a constant support to us. Our deepest appreciation goes to IndusNet Technology, with special mention of Ms. Devlina Chakraborty for their relentless effort in creating this website. Our sincere appreciation also goes to Dentsu Creative PR for their communication efforts that has made this event a success. Thanks to the entire team Decalogue for seamlessly managing this event. I would like to thank each and every member of EIILM-Kolkata family, with a special mention of our students who worked tirelessly for this entire event behind the screen. Thanks to all the extended family members of EIILM-Kolkata present here today. Thanks to the representatives, all representatives from media and press present today, and letting the world get enlightened by the wisdom of a Vedic leader. Last but not the least, I want to thank each and every member in the audience present for their participation. Your support and enthusiasm is what makes such an event a success. As we conclude, let us carry forward the knowledge and inspiration we have gained today, honoring the legacy of Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee. Thank you.
Thank you, Srimoi. Thank you so very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We meet for the high tea. And of course, the interaction with the media will happen in a short while from now. Thank you so much.